The Ukraine grain deal is important for a number of reasons. However, it has suffered a serious setback. Russia just killed the deal. Following their ending of the deal, Russia launched a series of attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure that enables the export of grain. This setback poses serious risks for the rest of the world, but to understand what these risks are, we need to dive into the deal itself and what it does. The Russia-Ukraine grain deal refers to an agreement that allowed the export of Ukrainian grain to global markets. The deal was brokered by Turkey and the United Nations in July 2022. Under the Black Sea Grain Initiative, Russia ceased its naval blockade of Ukrainian ports, enabling Ukrainian ships to carry grain across the Black Sea. The agreement aimed to ensure the safe passage and export of Ukrainian agricultural products, primarily grains such as wheat, barley, and corn. It was designed to alleviate global food shortages, especially in developing nations, and stabilize food prices worldwide after the initial shock from Russia's invasion in February 2022. However, on July 19th of 2023, Russia announced that it was suspending its participation in the grain deal, thereby terminating the agreement. Russia cited objections to restrictions on its own grain and fertilizer exports as the reason for pulling out of the deal. The expiration of the agreement could impact food security and exacerbate the ongoing food crisis. It's important to note that the context and developments surrounding the Russia-Ukraine conflict have impacted the dynamics of the grain deal itself. Turkey played a significant role in brokering and facilitating the Ukrainian grain deal. Turkey, along with UN, worked to negotiate and establish the agreement. Turkey's involvement included mediating negotiations between Russia and Ukraine and ensuring the smooth operation of the agreement. Turkey is highly invested in the Ukraine grain deal due to several reasons. Firstly, the deal allows Ukraine, nicknamed the breadbasket of Europe, to export its grain and other food items during its ongoing conflict with Russia. By facilitating the export of Ukrainian grain through the Black Sea, Turkey helps prevent a potential worsening of the global hunger crisis and a surge in food prices worldwide. Secondly, Turkey has been actively involved in brokering and mediating the grain deal between Ukraine and Russia. Turkey's diplomatic efforts and close ties between both Russia and Ukraine positioned it well as a neutral mediator in the negotiations. Furthermore, Turkey benefits economically from the Ukrainian grain deal. As a major transit country and strategic gateway between Europe and Asia, Turkey plays a vital role in facilitating the transportation of goods, including grain exports, from the Black Sea. The deal strengthens Turkey's position as a regional trade hub and enhances its economic ties with Ukraine, Russia, and the participating countries. That's what the deal itself is. But to get more of a complete understanding on its impact, let's look at why the deal actually matters. Ukraine plays a significant role in the world's food supply as one of its top agricultural producers and exporters. It is known for being a major exporter of staple grains such as wheat, maize, and barley, and oil seeds like sunflower oil. The country's vast arable land, accounting for more than 55% of its territory, enables it to contribute significantly to the global agricultural production. In terms of food exports, Ukraine primarily exports its agricultural products to various countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, with more than half of the exported food products going to developing countries. Additionally, Ukraine has been a key contributor to the World Food Program, supplying wheat and other food commodities to countries in need. With the termination of the grain deal, there are concerns about the potential impact on global food supplies and the risk of rising food prices. Ukraine and Russia are both major suppliers of grains and oilseeds, and the grain deal played a crucial role in stabilizing food prices and preventing shortages. Finally, the grain deal was brokered amid an ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, making it a rare example of cooperation between the two countries. The suspension of the agreement may disrupt trade routes and hinder Ukraine's ability to export its agricultural products, potentially affecting global food security and prices in recipient countries. But why did Russia withdraw? Russia withdrew from the grain deal, citing unmet conditions and demands related to facilitating Russian agricultural exports and the transport of Russian goods. Moscow argues that obstacles and restrictions imposed on its own exports, such as shipping, insurance, and financial sanctions, hindered its ability to fulfill its part of the agreement. So what might be next? The end of the Russian-Ukraine deal is expected to have significant impacts on the rest of the world, particularly in terms of global food security and prices. Here are the key impacts. Food prices and inflation. The halt of the grain deal is likely to result in an increase in food prices worldwide. The International Monetary Fund warns that the discontinuation of the agreement could add to global food inflation, especially for low-income countries, and worsen the food security outlook. The United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization chief economist also anticipates a new spike in food prices, although the duration of the increase remains uncertain. Global food security. The grain deal played a crucial role in facilitating the export of Ukrainian grain to countries heavily reliant on these shipments. The end of the deal threatens to disrupt food supply chains and exacerbate global food insecurity. The United Nations has expressed grave concerns about the impact on global food supply, especially for developing nations. Trade and economic impacts. The termination of the grain deal could have economic repercussions, particularly for countries involved in the trade of agricultural commodities. It may disrupt established trade routes and impact the economies of both Ukraine and Russia. Humanitarian consequences. The grain deal suspension poses a threat to vulnerable populations, especially those in low-income countries heavily dependent on Ukrainian grain imports. It may further exacerbate hunger and contribute to worsening humanitarian crises. Finally, geopolitical implications. The end of the grain deal could have broader geopolitical implications, potentially affecting relations between Russia, Ukraine, and other countries involved in the negotiations. It may impact diplomatic dynamics and efforts to resolve the ongoing conflict. While the deal itself is dead, Turkey could take matters into their own hands. Protecting Ukrainian ships to allow Ukraine to export grain now that the Ukrainian grain deal is dead presents challenges and complexities. Here are some of the possible measures Turkey could consider. Naval escorts. Turkey could provide naval escorts to Ukrainian ships navigating the Black Sea, ensuring their safe passage and protecting them from potential interference and blockades. Naval escorts can deter hostile actions and provide a sense of security for Ukrainian vessels engaged in grain exports. International cooperation. Turkey can seek international cooperation and support to protect Ukrainian ships. This could involve engaging with other countries, particularly those involved in the Black Sea Grain Initiative, such as the United Nations and other signatories, to collectively ensure the safety and freedom of navigation for Ukrainian vessels. Enhanced surveillance and monitoring. Turkey could bolster its surveillance capabilities in the Black Sea region to closely monitor the movement of vessels and identify any potential threats or disruptions. By maintaining a comprehensive surveillance system, Turkey can respond promptly to any security concerns and protect Ukrainian ships transporting grain. Diplomatic efforts. Turkey can continue diplomatic efforts to engage with relevant stakeholders, including Russia and Ukraine, to find a resolution and ensure the safe export of Ukrainian grain. Through negotiations and diplomatic channels, Turkey can advocate for the protection of Ukrainian ships and promote dialogue to address any underlying issues that led to the termination of the grain deal. The Ukrainian grain deal is important, but its closure represents economic blackmail by Russia to evade sanctions that were put on Russia as a result of their invasion of Ukraine. While options exist to salvage the situation, Russia has effectively escalated the stakes, claiming that any ships that operate from the Ukrainian ports will be viewed as military targets. This will ultimately impact the world's poorest and most vulnerable. Still, whether Russia carries out interdictions of escorted Ukrainian ships is another matter.